I'll be right back. Good morning.
Good
Good morning.
morning. How
Good
are you
morning or
doing?
grand rising. I'm just kidding.
Oh, did you say Great Rising? Not good morning.
I was just messing around. Katie, nice to
Hi.
see you. It's been a while.
Yes. How are you?
Wow,
How was your trip?
it was really, really good. It was awesome. It was really nice though. I look so tan in the sun
Yeah, you do. You got
right
some.
now, but I think it's my I'm like, wait, am I just tan?
Was it warm in California?
Was it warm? Actually it was not. I mean, it was about 50s,
Yeah.
50-ish, which is really cool. But today here in Texas is like 30. It's gonna get down to the 30s. It's
Oh,
actually
wow.
30s or 50s. So and it was like 75 degrees yesterday. So it's pretty crazy. But we got a
Wow.
cold
That's a
front
drastic
today.
drop. Damn.
Talking about getting accustomed with different temperatures in the body. I mean, here in Texas, like 70, 30s, 50s,
Mm.
80s. But it's good.
I didn't
How you guys
know you
doing?
were in Texas. I don't think I
Yeah,
did.
I live in Texas. It's been I moved here. Well, I moved from Brazil and to New Jersey. I lived in Newark. So I
Mm.
was in East Coast for like 3 years. It was pretty crazy. It was fun. It was basically one of the craziest times of my life, going to New York and being independent and going crazy. But then I moved to California and I lived in Cali for 12 years.
Oh,
I lived,
wow.
it was amazing. It was like, wow. So I lived there in around Long Beach area, Huntington Beach. So the beach is, I came from the beach in Brazil, so it was really nice to go back to California. I lived in California for 12 years and then I moved to Texas since 2016.
Okay. You like
So
living
it's
in
been a
Texas?
while. It's nice though. It's really slow paced life. I mean, I live in New Braunfels, which is about 40 minutes from San Antonio and an hour from Texas, I'm sorry, from Austin.
Mm.
So it's in between. Have you guys been to Texas before?
Yeah, I've been to Colleen.
Yeah, your brother lives in
Yeah, yeah.
Texas. I said that.
I've
Nice.
never been.
Yeah. Within those 7 years that I've been living here, I lived in Denver for 1 year, and that was the most healing experience I had in my whole entire life.
Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
In Denver, in Colorado.
Colorado, yeah.
Mm.
It was like my dog once. He's scratching the door to come in. Hey, buddy.
Colorado's cool. It's very dry in the winter, but it's cool.
Oh, you took my spot in the sun, but that's okay. We share. Yeah, it was crazy because I decided to go like change my diet, my life plant-based. It was like Christmas 2019. Let's just say the beginning of 2020, which is blows my mind. It's going to be 4 years already. But let's just say I was in the middle of my healing here in Texas, and we're just not happy here. We used to complain about how we hate the weather, how we hate being here. Coming from California was a shock,
Mm.
but we were the problem. It was in Texas, we didn't know at the time. We try to look for things to make our life better. Like, I hate this, I hate this. It's not the same. You focus on the shadows, right? On the problems. So when I moved to Denver, I was already plant-based for about a year and a half. Still eating seafood here and there, but then when I went to Denver, I we went because we wanted to be in nature. So we got to Denver and we were hiking the Rocky Mountains. We were going to the waterfalls. It was just so healing. And with that, I went from plant-based cooked foods, heavy grains, tofu, all kinds of stuff, to coming across Brian. And then I decided to do my breathing and I went raw at the same time.
Mm.
So we had plans to be in Denver for like 2 to 3 years, but then within 12 months, everything happened and I quit my job and then I came back to Texas and now we love Texas. We listen to country every day. We still hate country. I hate this, but after we healed in Denver, we discovered that no matter where you go, it's your heart, it's yourself, it's not the place. Of course, the environment matters.
Hmm.
Uh, the
Relatable.
internal terrain matters most.
For sure.
Katie.
So yeah, it's pretty hard. What did you guys say? I had to close my door.
Katie.
It's just so relatable. Like me and Common were just having a conversation about like exactly what you're saying. And it totally is internal. And simultaneously, it's like sometimes you need to change up your environment to kind of
Mhm.
gain like a different perspective and like recenter. Sometimes it's just like you can't heal in certain environments.
True.
Yeah. Your
Totally.
dog is so cute. I've never seen its face. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Oh
He's
my God, he's
he's a
so,
little punk. Hi, Bowser. They're watching you, buddy.
what is he? What kind of doggy?
He's a rescue dog, and my girlfriend got him at the point she's going through some tough times, and he helped her. I mean, he helped us, but mainly helped her so much, like with healing and just feeling loved, I guess, like when we need that. Dogs are so healing, but
Yeah.
he is a combination of like Maltese and I'd say some type of man, I forget. He's a but he acts like a little puppy, but he's 9. He's actually been healing with us this whole entire time.
Hmm.
It's crazy to see how he went through all the healing the same way we did, because we were living here, and the energy that we were around here, like when you just like work all day, complain it's too hot, oh blah blah blah, and then he feels it. So we went to Denver. He had to get used to living in an apartment with a lot of other dogs, and he wasn't trained at all. So he switched to like a more plant-based diet too. I mean, he eats so much fruit. I mean,
Yeah.
he loves everything, like dates, pineapple, oranges, even apples, blueberries, my smoothies. I serve him his food, and I do dates for topping, and he loves it. But he was able to learn how to be social and not to have, social anxiety, and learn how to stay calm when he needed and everything. Yeah, he's a cutie pie.
He's
Yeah,
so
he's a cutie
That's
pie.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
sweet.
So Katie, so you're living now are you in Connecticut? I forget, Boston?
Boston, yeah.
Boston, right?
Hmm.
Right. And where are you from, like originally?
Buffalo, New York.
Oh, so in New York, I got it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. You guys like it there?
Yes and no. Done with the
Yes.
winters. Looking to move soon. Like really
What are
soon.
you thinking? Like, do you
Florida.
have any in mind? Oh,
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sun and the fruits and the tropical weather, man, it's just like can't beat that.
Yeah. And it's a pretty good, like, I like being on the East Coast, I think. It's a pretty good kind of hub for traveling around the world. Um, and yeah, I have some friends down in Tampa, St. Pete's area. So we're looking at places down there.
Oh, really? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. When I was in New Jersey, I can only handle, well, first time I saw snow, it was in East Coast, right? Because in Brazil, it doesn't snow. So it was magical my first winter. And then 3 days later, it's just all black and dirt and
Yeah.
freezing my bones. And I learned how to ski in Poconos, which is,
Mm.
not, skiing in New Jersey is not like the best, but you can still do it. But it's just miserable cold, it's really
Yeah.
cold.
And then it gets gray for like weeks at a time. And it's
Months,
yeah, months.
months at a time. Like in Buffalo, you don't see the sun for like 4 months. And then you like You're like, why do I want to die?
I know. It's really tough because the grades really related to like being down and depressed and lazy. Who
Yeah.
did that? Is that you, Colin?
No, you did that.
I did?
Yeah, you just did that. You were like this with
No,
your hand, and then it.
Whoa, that's
this is insane. I don't know what's going on. We spent a whole day with Brian the other day
Yeah,
doing that.
I don't know how to do it.
But
Other people can. They do like the heart thing.
oh, when it will like actually pop up.
Yeah,
Mm.
and then I think there's another one. There's like fireworks one. My buddy Dan, who one of
balloons.
my clients, he does it all the time. Like, we'd just be like at the end of our like calls and stuff, he would just be like, "How are you doing
Yeah,
that?"
It's what's interesting too, and then we can like talk about the gene keys, is
I
that
know.
Yeah.
in Erie County, which is the county that I grew up in, I'm pretty sure it's Erie County, it has the highest rates of multiple sclerosis out of
Hmm.
like anywhere. And I have like a sense it's because it's so
I'm
gray.
sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's so gray that and like depressing that people start to hold on to their emotions, and like, then you don't have the warmth, and then it's so cold, and when it's so cold it's like you become so tense and rigid, and then your emotions aren't moving through you, and then it's like over time that just gets stored up and then you end up developing autoimmune disorders like MS and like whatever else.
Yeah.
Mm.
So true. So true. There's
Yeah.
a lot of cases like that too in Europe because like in UK, we have family in England and the weather is just not good. And well, I came from a tropical weather in Brazil. I literally was like 10-minute walk from the beach from my house. I mean, it's literally paradise. So moving to New Jersey, it was a huge shock. But I had relatives in Newark that own an English school, and
Mm.
I came to learn English. That was my goal. So my first winter there was nice. I was excited, I still went skiing. I was like, I'm doing this no matter what. It was freezing, but I had the mindset that I wanted to learn. And my third year in East Coast, I was like, that's it, I'm done. I was actually getting really depressed, not gonna lie. Again, I was talking to my girlfriend about that because the year cycle relating to the gene keys, because it's all related to the gene keys, right? Us moving now, being depressed is not you, it's not the place, it's your heart that's like shut down. And if your heart's closed and it's freezing, your heart's not gonna open. Bless you. So um the 3 year cycle, so 0, 7, 7, 14, 14, 21. So when I moved to New Jersey, I turned 21 in 3 months. So my 3 year cycles were basically done. So I think all the byproduct of the 3 year cycles, what I went through, trauma and all that, things that I don't even know, it was like, okay, I'm free and I'm independent. And I turned 21 in New Jersey, Newark, going to New York and going to Sound Factory. I don't even know if you know that was to be a club called Sound
Yeah, I
Factory.
think I'm aware of it. I haven't been, but I know I have a couple of friends who grew up in New Jersey. I have two friends. Yeah.
It's in New York, right? And Limelight or whatever. Anyways, so within 3 years, I was so homesick and so tired and so depressed because the winter can be rough if you're not in a good state of mind. So I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. So I had an opportunity to move. I was going to go either to Florida or to California. So I ended up having an opportunity to go to California. So my life changed.
Where in Cali were you?
I was in Orange County. I was in Long Beach though, but I spent a lot of time in Huntington Beach and um, just surfing, beach cruising, skateboarding. I went back to myself again.
Hmm.
It was like one of the best feelings of my life.
Mm.
But yeah, it's rough because I went to Denver and it's beautiful there. The winter is not too bad, but I know how the environment makes a difference with my emotions because I grew up 20 years in nature and I had to move places, but it's like that my core, my essence never changed. The environment changed, but I couldn't be 100% myself with the environment that I was with, because it's cold and you go more indoor, and we're indoor, we party, and then I drink more, and then it's freezing, or let's have a shot, or we go house parties and smoke more and stay warm. So you're not exposing yourself to cold temperatures, or you just kind of bury yourself in kind of it bit me in the ass later on. So but I was aware of it with them. Hi Peter. But anyways, I'll let you guys talk a little bit more now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
All right. Yeah.
Peter, I was still like, I keep reading what you wrote yesterday. It's
Uh,
powerful. Good stuff.
Right?
Thanks, man. Yeah. That was like, 10 minutes of reading, like another, I mean, just keeps connecting things. Even things I've always kind of like, that have been hanging out there for me, like really enjoyed, playing Matchbox cars on this rockery, and time just stood still. Um, uh, it, I can tell you kind of a quick story about my grandma, my mom's mom. So, one, I was totally into cars as a kid. I knew every single car. I could tell a 71 from a 72 Nova. Oh yeah, it's this thing. That's different. That window rolls down. 73. Really into Hot Wheels and whatnot. So my grandma lived in the apartments next to us, and later in life, we rebuilt the basement, and then she lived in our house with her own apartment downstairs. So I'm like 4, and I don't have my Hot Wheels. My mom had to go to work. My dad's like, and she's like, well, we'll just have to get them later. I'm like crying. I'm just kind of like whining. She's like, hold on, I'll make you a track, because I wanted my Hot Wheel track. So I'll make you a track. And it also, just a side note, this is a lot how the transporter technology art that I do
I was gonna say.
came about from this experience. She's the OG transporter technology.
Hmm.
So she goes, come with me into the kitchen, and she starts like whipping up like some flour and some water and putting it on the stove to boil. And I'm just like still whiny. And within like a couple minutes, she had like this almost like mashed potato look to this flour, and it's like bubbling up, and then turns the heat off. She starts putting dollops on this cookie tray or whatever. And I'm like, and then she starts smoothing it out, and she goes, you got one of your cars with you? And I was like, what are you gonna do with it? She goes, well, I'm gonna put it in this right now. I'm gonna just show you. So you got one you can. I gave her one of my crappy ones, and she starts driving the car, making tracks through this like snow of like stuff that's now it's got a ton of salt in there. So now it's hardening as it cools.
Hmm.
And it lumps and turns and berms. And then she goes, okay, well, just another couple minutes, it'll be cool enough for you to go set it on the floor and start playing with your car. And I'm like,
That's sick.
wrong. I'm like, oh my God. So, little kid, a tray is pretty big. So I had this like track, and I'm just like, now it's like fully hardened, and it's like plastic, and I'm driving my car, and it's got tracks in it. So the cars are kind of rolling along it. I mean, so time just stood still as I didn't know what she was doing. And then it just appeared, and it's like, that took me back to a bunch of things about the time. And what's 58 again? 58's the is it dissatisfaction, which is not a bad thing. That's the CD on 58.
Are you talking about your EQ? You're talking
Yeah,
about the 58 in general. You have the 50.
I have 52, but 52 and 58 are in the codon ring, and that's how that's kind of where I got to yesterday when I wrote
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. You have the 50.3 in your EQ, but let me see the code on rings.
You have the 52 in your attraction sphere.
Yeah, there you go. And then I came into the, because that's what I was kind of thinking about. I was like, well, what is my sticking point in the attraction? I know it's going to be more amplified as I go through the IQ and EQ and even my core. So then I started understanding the codon rings.
Ring of seeking.
Seeking, yeah. So I've always felt like I've been seeking, like, why does this one thing stick in my brain of being so significant in my life? And then the other things around that. So yesterday I went to that rockery that I used to play on. And it was covered with moss. So I took a bunch of pictures, and it was really different than the self-soothing thing. It was like remembering my powers and like how time stood still, and just the creativity, just out of that time construct. So I think I know that that's where I'm most powerful, is when the time just kind of stands still, like, yeah.
And the 52.
Amazing.
Yeah, there was something there about it. Almost seems like a negative in the CD. It's
Yeah.
disappointment or disassociation, or I don't have it in front of me right now.
Yes, you're right.
The line 6, you mean? I have the 51.6 for my heel. Which is, disappointment, in a sense, resigned. Is that what you say? And ecstatic.
Oh, the line for the attraction sphere? Yeah.
I think it's also like resolve too, or something like that in there.
Are we talking about the
Oh,
attraction sphere?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was talking about the attraction. I'm sorry. We're going EQ today, right?
Yeah, today we're gonna go over the EQ.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we
all
can chat.
connected.
It's all
I'm
connected.
so
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah, that's why I realized, like, oh, this is how it works. It's like this is how you can bounce around and make sense of things. Whereas, a month or two ago, it's like, where did I read that? I read that, and then what was the number that I read that? Like, I got so like into the maze of stuff and the wonderment of it all. So I feel like I've my skills are better at like staying like in the connection. So this is a really powerful range we're in right now, because you can look at like the sticking points that you've always known about but didn't understand about, or fully integrate. What were the things that you do certain times, and other times your shadow's there, so then you fall out of it but you don't know you're falling out of it, and going into the shadow.
Yeah.
So navigation wise, this is really a powerful, and we've been sticking with it too, so that's another thing, of course. But yeah, so
yeah, the EQ is definitely waking up a lot of things in my mind about like what emotional intelligence is. Like, where we've gone through IQ, now we're going through EQ. It's like, I think I was talking about it with Katie last night. We were talking about how, like, what is EQ, and they say it in the chapter. Like, EQ is when you know how to manage your emotions, and how to not let it like spill out in your life, but also how to transform it internally, and like literally like the how to, like, how do you do it. And it's clear that like a lot of people in this world do not have those skills. It's just like, as a collective, I think we lack those skills, and that's kind of cool, like, to think about like where we're moving forward with it, to like be emotionally intelligent as a species.
It's underrated.
Yeah.
Like, everyone thinks that like IQ is like at the top, but really it's like emotional intelligence. That's where it's really bad. If you can manage your emotions and know how to process. And we were talking about how, like, really it's about knowing when to express your emotions, when that's necessary, when you need to like go over it with someone. And also recognizing that you don't always need to express your emotions to everyone, to your partner, right, especially, or to the people around you, that you can actually process your emotions on an internal level on your own, and like how powerful that can be, and also empowering, because it's like, you know, you're kind of training yourself to trust that you can move through hard things without needing someone else, but also recognizing that we do need people too, and that sometimes you do need another person to walk with you, to hold your hand through it or whatever. So
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
finding that balance.
Right, right. Yeah, Colin was talking about the dishes and the roommate thing last week, where he's still thinking about it, and the discussion they had, you know, percussion is discussion, discussion is percussion, that kind of thing. And then he's like, I want to help you, right? And then he's still thinking about it in his head, but he didn't need to feel the need to like say anything. Just like sit with it, work it out. And
Yeah.
then that also rings true of what they said about, you know, couples. If one person is doing the work and the other one's not, that can actually, and it does help the other person, even if you're not talking about it, because it's still like the energetic,
Mm-hmm.
the core of how we're all the same that way. The core, you know, the first trimester,
Yeah, it really
we're all
does
connected.
one person, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the
And
emotional sphere in general, I feel like a lot of it is there's so much conditioning in those early ages between 7 and 14. There's like just so much. We're being accustomed to thinking about me and I for like the first time in our lives. So we're like trying to develop this personality and this ego and trying to figure out how to deal with emotions, because like that's puberty. Like chemical reactions are happening in our body that are causing us to have all these crazy emotions that we're not used to. So it's like, how do we deal with that? How do we dance with that and figure that out? And it's it's just kind of wild to think about how I actually lost my train of thought. If anybody else wants to jump in.
yeah, 7 to 14, you know, the ego, you know, you know, everything's building, and it's you're budding
Puberty.
up. The
And yeah, so from like 0 to 7, that's when like you still have that connection to source. You still feel like you're like a like connected to your parents, right? And then I don't know if he talks about it in this book. I think he does. Of like then from like 8 to 14, that's when you start to develop a sense of independence, where you start to feel separate. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like such an important time, because now it's like you went from being like connected to like now you're out in this world and you're like kind of on your own, and you're like learning how to navigate this world and your connections and your emotions. And so yeah, really like it's so important that the child is really nurtured at this time, like is allowed to express its emotions, or you know, like I don't do we all have the
Yeah,
third
I
line?
was just looking at that. We literally all of us have the three. It's really funny.
Oh my God,
Yes.
Gwen. That's
And
so
like I can see how, yeah, just like using my third line as an example, it's like, you know, that is such a, you know, we're going through puberty, you're like learning about yourself. My parents got a divorce right around that time, and all of my emotions just got so repressed. And literally, the shadow of the third line is apathy. And that is exactly what played out in my life. And I still am like feeling the remnants of it, of like not knowing how to express my emotions. And so the only thing I knew how to do was to just repress it and not feel anything, like disassociate and be in my head. And like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind
yeah,
of rambling about that,
No,
but
yeah,
like,
I
that's
agree.
that.
crazy.
That's keep going if you can.
Yeah,
Or for any-
I'll just build on to that. Like
yeah,
I can
please.
definitely relate to the whole apathy thing. We were talking about it the other night. Like apathy for me, it was such a weird time because I had hypothyroidism diagnosed at 10 years old, and then it like because of that, it like because getting it before puberty, it like delayed my puberty. So like I had all these emotions about that, and I was like, this sucks. I feel like I'm like sort of being left behind, and I definitely repressed stuff. And it was like I felt like everybody else was going further or like getting like in their own rhythm, and I wasn't. And it was like this it hit me really deep. And I remember like there was specific moments where I felt like really sad, but then like immediately I didn't feel anything. And I was like, okay, well, this is better than not feeling sad, so I'm just going to keep doing that. And then it just like stayed with me for a long time. Like honestly, like a
Mhm.
long time until like my mid 20s did I really feel like I was like able to that like it wasn't a race and it wasn't nobody was ahead of me and it was just my experience to live, you know, that emotion. Um, but apathy, yeah, I can still feel how apathy is like a big part of my life because when and sympathy, like how both of them interact and play with each other, and
Mhm.
like thinking about how apathy, sympathy, empathy are all connected and how I can utilize each one of those. And like even in a way, sometimes apathy isn't always a bad thing. Because it's just like sort of like disassociation. It's okay if you can reassociation, get back into your body, get back into your emotions. It can almost be like a tool. It's just like sort of like what I've been thinking about. Because like sometimes the emotions are crazy and it's better to like let things like
Sometimes
settle
you
or
need to,
yeah.
it's like a protective mechanism. And
I was talking about Kate with Katie about how like in human design there's all these different um strategies and authorities of how to deal with like emotions, like you're not supposed to make decisions at the peak of your emotions and etc., like things like that. And even now how I'm like using apathy in that way, I'm able to make decisions just not with any emotion. I'm able to like take my time to make decisions and not be emotionally attached to them and just be objective and logical and thinking about it. So that's just like something that I'm thinking about as a line three. But I am curious what you guys, if you guys are like also we're all in the same vibe right now. Like if you guys think
I
that.
think we're like, everybody's like, rah, to exhausted. I can just feel it because so much happened. Like, you know, me and my girlfriend, we've been having some deep conversations, like real deep, we're always like deep, just talk about things that matter. But with this whole Gene Key and human design and the Venus, it's been crazy because we were talking all weekend about, I was telling her about the 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21, and we were describing our lives to each other around that time. And we were able to unravel so many different traumas, and they're very deep traumas, almost like 2 to 3 life-changing traumas per cycle that we didn't know. And
Mm,
it's funny because it fits the 7 year exactly for each. And there's so much. I mean, the same way you said he had a divorce, but my girlfriend's parents divorced as well when she was 4, and there's just a lot of traumas going on there. That in her family, like her dad tried to commit suicide actually, and he actually shot himself in the head but didn't die. He just went through one eye and came out to the other eye. He didn't die. It's pretty crazy though. We're not gonna go too deep into that, but
whoa.
yeah, it's crazy because when it's not your time, when it's not your time, it's not your time, and there's always a message behind. But the funny thing is that, yeah, I went through all this, like let's just say for me, for example, I was born a club foot baby. I had a lot of traumas from 0 to 7. Of course, I don't remember much, but I do know that, remember my mom's water broke and I had respiratory issues. I was dry for like 12 hours. I was born purple. Then at the age of 2, I had a 3rd-degree burn, which is very traumatic that I don't remember. But fast forward to what we were talking about, the Venus being open heart. And I've, like Peter said, I read it somewhere right in the beginning of the Venus sequence that, can we be open hearted? Like, in a lot of people talk about, oh yeah, open hearted, they're sweet, kind, compassion. That's not what we're talking about. Really, it's talking about, can you keep your heart open in very tough situations, very harsh situations, when you're right, but they think you're wrong. Like, how can you just maintain your heart open and love something for what it is without any judgments and comparison? And this is really hard because there was an incident that happened just 3 days ago or something on the weekend that my girlfriend told me. And that has everything to do with the Venus sequence, because I mean, she's not into the gene. I mean, she's not studying the gene keys, but we talked some about it. But I can see everything happening just because I'm with you guys studying. And like I said, it requires one person to make a change, right? And like you said about the dishes. Oh, I'm doing dishes. Why you're not doing it? It has to be 50-50 or this and that. Not really. It requires one open-hearted person in the relationship to change the other person without me trying to change her, right? She doesn't even know anything, but she can feel it. So what happened was she was going to the grocery and there's a guy walking in front of her, and then she's walking maybe like a little bit behind him, and there's a car coming. The grocery store, people are crazy trying to drive and stuff. So she was walking and she's explaining to me, I was just in a really good state of mind. She was just like walking relaxed with a gentle smile on her face. Actually, when I met her, that's how I saw her aura. Just, she's always like has this gentle smile, like a very peaceful aura, very innocent. So she's just walking normal, which normal walking for people these days is slow, because people are walking crazy all over the place. Go, go, go. So she's walking, and this lady was waiting for her to walk, but I guess the lady didn't like how slow she was walking. And all of a sudden she's walking and she kind of saw that the car was really close to her. So she looked, and the lady opened up her window, not like this anymore, but pressed the button, window went down. And then she looked at my girlfriend and said, could you walk any slower, fucking bitch? And I was like, wait, did she? That sounded just so intense for someone that, like my girlfriend, walking, gentle smile, great state of mind, beautiful day. And that lady's like, could you walk any slower? Fucking bitch. So my girlfriend looked at her, didn't think anything, looked forward again, kept walking, and she described to me that within 10 seconds, she was processing what the lady said, and she wasn't judging anything. She's like, wow, like, did she really say that? How mean, right? And then that's within 10 seconds. And then the next 10 to 20 seconds, she felt this deep pain in her heart. So deep, something she never felt before. She's like, oh, like it hurt, like to the bone. And then she felt sad, almost like she wanted to cry. And then within 20 seconds, it went away. And then she felt great. She never experienced that before in her life.
Wow.
Because the old her would be like, maybe not responding to that lady, but while she's walking, like, the fuck is wrong with that bitch? I could have said this and that, be angry, hold that emotion inside because you didn't say anything to the lady. And then you go on with your life, but you're still having that heaviness in your heart. But the way she described it that she wasn't expecting that. She felt like, ouch. So she felt the emotion. She felt sad. She was so sad to the point of crying. She said she never felt this. I said, wait, have you ever felt that pain in your heart before in other relationships or situation? And she's like, yeah, like when someone hurts my feeling, I feel so sad, like I want to cry. But then she was able to feel the emotion very deeply, and then the emotion just kind of left the body. Dude, isn't that crazy? I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
you're another person. This is incredible. I thought it was pretty awesome, fascinated to share, so I wanted to share with you.
Oh, it's a great story. Yeah.
That's so cool.
I learned in school that it takes, I think it's 90 seconds to process emotions, like fully process emotions. And maybe it takes like certain emotions might take longer, but an emotional cycle is 90 seconds. So you
Wow.
can like allow yourself to just experience the emotions for 90 seconds, then the emotion can actually move and resolve and you can come back to like your baseline.
Hmm.
And so it just, yeah, it sounds like what you're explaining is that your girlfriend just allowed herself to experience the emotion instead of, yeah, like getting angry and like holding on to it or like wishing she had said something or also reacting to this woman. And she just let herself feel the pain of the experience that she just experienced. And then she was able to move on with her life. Like that's kind of what we were saying in the beginning
Wow.
of like knowing when you need to like express the emotions and knowing when you can just like allow yourself to feel it and to like process it on your own instead of making it like some big ordeal.
Wow, that's so great.
Yeah, there's so much power in doing that. It's like you said, empowering, literally. Yeah.
Truly observing
Yeah.
every.
Having an open heart in harsh situations, it's really the test. You know what I mean? Because it does require patience, and they say, well, patience, perseverance, and compassion, right? That's not the order, but it's yeah, I think it is something like that. But
PPC.
yeah, it's
Wait,
different than you can still be patient, but internally you're like, you know,
Mm.
or you can be compassionate, but someone makes you feel like shit. You're like, oh, fuck you, like, but to be calm and allow that emotion that like you weren't expecting, someone made you feel that way. You're like, okay, I'm just gonna feel that way. And it felt so deep and so painful, but she mentioned how that pain was removed from the body after, yeah, she said 10 to 20 seconds to process, and then another 20 to 30 to feel that pain. And it's almost like you said, the 90 seconds. And then she's like, okay, I feel light again. I feel good. It's almost, it was like a boost on top of what happened.
Mm.
It gives her that energy because you're able to allow the 90 seconds. Now you got a little, okay, you just empowered yourself a little bit more.
yeah.
Interesting.
Like
Yeah.
going through the full spectrum of emotions
Yeah.
is in a way emotional intelligence. It's like you're able to see the shadow, feel the shadow, go the way, like all the way through it, all the way through it. And that's what gets you like flashes into the city where you're like, you recognize that. And they said this like a bunch of times in the beginning of the Venus sequence. And I think in this chapter, they talked about how every single relationship is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to like,
Open your heart.
yeah, to literally like either use your gifts or use your city or like just feel. And it's that was such a cool story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, in New Age spirituality too, it's like very love and light. And what the point that you made, Michelle, of like, it's not about like an open heart isn't like someone shouts at you and you look at them and you're just like, I love you. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
get it.
having an open heart means that like someone can call you a fucking bitch and you can still be with yourself and love yourself and not take on what they're projecting onto you and be like, oh my God, was I walking too slow? Am I a bitch? Was like that really rude of me? Like, oh my God, I like, and then you like start to abandon yourself because you're taking on the projections of others and you're identifying with the emotions that people are making you feel or like the emotions that are moving through you. It's like an open heart is just being able to love yourself through all of it, even like that pain. So yeah, that was a great
Yeah.
story. Thank you.
Crazy that everybody's talking something, but lately my mind has been extremely, I mean, creative, and I have been, my mind has been flourishing with ideas and imagination, which I was gonna ask you guys actually, because I think my human design, my head is, there's no dots, it's completely open. The Anja, what does you call it? Like if
The head
if
center and the
the
ajna.
Yeah, it's, you know, all my little, what do you call it? The points, the black and red,
Channels.
The
I guess
gates?
channels, the little gates and portals. Yeah, I don't have anything on my sacrum. It's almost like on the sides, but my head is completely open, right? There's nothing there. And I felt like last week I'm in the middle of something, having an idea, but there's something else comes and I don't know if this is possible, but I had some soreness on the top of my skull. And I mean, not that I hit my head or did anything crazy, but I'm like, started to massage my head and I'm like, wait, right around here, there was like some soreness that it felt like it was sore from so many ideas and thinking and imaginations and realization and visualizations and manifestation. I don't know if that's even possible. I gotta ask Kara, but and then today I don't have anything anymore, but I'm like, wait, why is this part like feel like sore and softer? Like it's my I, I'm like, is something opening there or did something go through? I don't even know how to
Hmm.
explain it, but is it possible to have anything like that?
I mean, like the crown chakra is
Yeah,
right.
the crown chakra.
Yes. And sometimes if you are bringing in a lot of inspiration, that's what the head is in
I
human
felt like
design.
I was downloading like nonstop, like
Mm.
crazy. I'm sorry to cut you. Go on, Shakadi. Oof.
Yeah, no, I mean, you trust the experience you're having and your intuition because I've had experiences where like it is the new moon. We have a lot of planetary transitions. Neptune, the planet of intuition, is like at play right now. And so you might be receiving more. We've had solar flares coming through.
Yeah.
And so sometimes like the head and the ajna, so like your third eye and your crown, I've experienced more like pulsations, like it felt
Hmm.
like my third eye's pulsating, or I could just feel pressure on my head. It's more like it's not necessarily pain, but it's pressure. So I've had that experience.
A little soreness right on this side over here. And
Mm.
earlier, when you were saying, Katie, about thinking, I've been experiencing that like um you said about I forgot. Anyway, someone else can jump in. You said about something about thinking, and I wrote it down to be honest, but someone else can go.
Yeah, sure. So I do want to kind of just go through the 6 lines really quickly and talk about them because I think it's cool to, even if we don't see them in ourselves, and if we do see more than one line in ourselves, I think it's a good idea to just kind of go through them because I definitely was feeling like I had experienced those lines in other people, especially in those times where, we're teenagers with like a bunch of other kids in school and, some kids being mean. Like that's definitely an emotional thing.
Wow.
So yeah, let's just go through. And Katie, if you want to add anything, as I know you've gone through these before. The first line was all about like self-esteem and self-sabotage. And those ones just like seem
Universal.
so universal, yeah, so like interconnected. So like when you have high self-esteem, you're not going to self-sabotage. When you have high self-sabotage, you have low self-esteem. Like it's just like it's funny. And I've actually heard like the same thing about ego. When you have high self-esteem, your ego is low. When your ego is high, you have low self-esteem. So it's like when your ego is loud, talk about those dark spokes, that's loud, that's self-sabotage. That's all like the patterning and the programming that's like telling you that you're not worthy, you're poor, you're not abundant, like whatever it is. Any of those programs is just apparent. Go
So
ahead.
it's so interesting, like going up, scroll up a little,
Yeah.
just to like look at the keynotes and see how they all layer upon each other. It's like when you have self-esteem, then you're like courteous to those around you. And when you're courteous to those around you, you can feel sympathy for others because you understand that like we're all going through this human experience, and that makes you kind to everyone, then you can be kind and respectful and have reverence for all of life. And that's literally the keynotes in order.
Yeah, and then if you're self-sabotaging, then you're aggressive towards people and you have apathy and you're mean.
And you disrespect them, and then you alienate others
And
and
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah.
It's like the energy is contagious in a nutshell. That's what
Mm,
we're saying, right?
yeah. And it
Like,
builds on itself. It's like a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a spiral and it's like
And you're either going up or you're going down.
Yeah.
although I've
Yeah.
heard you can loop too. That's like a
Oh,
thing,
yeah,
looping.
circle, where you're
Yeah.
not spiraling, you're just circling.
And you're just repeating the same.
yeah,
You're not necessarily evolving or you're not descending, but you're like just repeating the same thing. And I feel like a lot of people are in that more than like one or the other. And it's like certain things can trigger you to go into ascension or into dissension, but like so many people, including myself, have been just stuck in loops. Just loop like where you're not connected to the world, you're not connected to nature, you're just like doing the same thing day in, day out, not feeling a purpose, not feeling in alignment, and not feeling love for yourself or for anything. It's just like it's in a way it's apathy at like a greater frequency almost. Or just
That
like
is apathy.
yeah,
This is a
Uh-huh.
lack.
Intellect is firing
yeah.
when you're bouncing around, when you're cycling in a spot. You're trying to figure it out, like
Yeah.
rationalize. Like you're aware of it, maybe.
That's usually when you leave your body.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go to the mind. The
Yep, the mind. Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is good and it's powerful to do so, but it's also like a skill to be able to bring yourself back into your body.
But remember, it's
Right.
yeah,
water over fire.
yeah,
Yeah.
Fire is the mind.
And think about it too. That's where a lot of these like life hacks come about on like social media, because everyone's like figuring it out. Like, oh, I got this thing I do when I do this, and when I mean, they're not talking about like these loops or in patterns, but there's always a solution to something. It always feels, thinking about it now, it's like, and what we're talking about, it feels like it comes from the intellect. Like, oh, I got this figured out. I can move on to the next. Not really feeling it. It's more like, oh, okay, now I can. It's like a bypass, a jump in electronics and stuff. I've been learning a little about like car stereos and stuff, and sometimes you use these things called a jumper. So it's not working over here. It's not communicating with the steering wheel controls when you install something. You got to use a jumper, and then later, after the car's used it for 20 minutes or an hour or whatever, it doesn't. You don't need that jumper anymore because it's connected now. But it needed that little wiring to go from here to here to get it to talk, because you got like factory stuff from the automobile makers, and then you got the aftermarket stuff, and they have to communicate. Sometimes it turns right on, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. That's why I
in my mind when you're saying that, Peter. Sorry, go on.
yeah, I can totally relate to that in like another metaphor. I use like the body in a way, like when your mind isn't connected to like a certain muscle and it's not firing properly, you can use proprioception and like use like little massage techniques to like activate on the outside of that muscle to like warm it up or something or get you to create that like mind body connection and then you can utilize that if in your movement or whatever you're doing. So it's like it's the kind of same thing.
Yeah, yeah. Your sensations, not trying to like tell it to do it.
Yeah, I like, can't get it. Like I don't know where the path is. Like it's like throwing something in the dark and trying to hit a dartboard or whatever.
There you go.
It's Peter, the jumper being a tool to things to connect is like the breath bring the bridge to the body that connects the brain. The body is the breath. So the jumper with the breath
Yeah.
to kind of, harmonize everything and get things flowing. So it's almost like, the same thing, using the jumper as a tool. You don't want to jump your car every day because the battery is dead. But
Yeah.
if you need to jump your car, you can, and then things are working. Just like sometimes your brain working and your body's also working, but they're not in harmony. So the breath comes and kind of dissolves and connects everything like the jumper. And I remember now that you guys were talking about intellectualizing, and I'm going more from like when you're thinking, intellectualizing, you're doing, but when you are feeling, contemplating, you're being. So When you think you're doing, but when you're feeling, you are being.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely different. So there's a certain time to think and do, but the most time now I am feeling and being versus thinking and doing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted to say earlier that I forgot.
Nice.
Well, you guys brought it up and it makes sense. Like, yeah, it's like the cadence challenge, right? Of course, I'm doing my app on the clock and having the app going for all the things that I do 24/7. But there's a place that I'm not on my app and doing. I'm just being my resonance frequency, whatever that is. But after the 4-month challenge, I'm never gonna, never, but I would not be on my app checking my resonance frequency because now it's just a commitment for 120 days straight for me to do it. But I also, when I'm doing my cadence, I don't feel like I'm doing because I'm in the moment and being and feeling. So doing and being can also, it's a fine line, in perception for me. You're smiling there because, like, what are you feeling? Tell me.
Yeah,
I'm just listening
Sorry.
to Common as you're talking. He's cadence breathing, so
yeah.
I'm like, it's making me laugh.
I was thinking about it because I saw your post this morning in Brian's chat, and yeah, I've been tapping into all of that too, and I love it. It makes me feel awesome, like it really does. Uh, yeah, I've just been thinking about the breath while you were talking.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's so
Nice.
crazy because, like, I was trying to figure it out. My breath was always there with me and it's always been with me. And how come I never felt my breath before? Like, what the fuck was I doing that I wasn't feeling my breath? But it's not that at that time I couldn't feel my breath because it's an interoception. It's a layer of yourself that you feel. You cannot feel something just by thinking. It's not the same as just feeling without thinking. Does that make sense? You can think of something, feel something, but when you feel something before thinking and you actually acknowledge that you're feeling something you didn't think of, that something, like, oh shit, I've been here feeling this
Yeah.
automatically. Kind of the idea.
The
And
melt.
the last thing I wanted to attach to that I read yesterday is funny because it really got into my mind. Like your message that you texted yesterday, Peter, was like, wow. Like I was contemplating on that a lot. And it says, unless and until we rediscover our true open-hearted innocence, we will never stop longing for something, somewhere, or someone. So that Richard read, he read that somewhere. I think it's on the karma, but
Yeah.
it makes so much sense that, okay, unless and until we rediscover true open-hearted innocence, we'll never stop longing for something, somewhere, or someone. That shit is really deep.
Mhm.
Like, what I understand from this is that what we talked early is not where you are, who you're with, or why you have and your beautiful home, cars, traveling. Of course, that's all nice, but until we stop seeking for something, we're never gonna feel our true self.
Mhm.
Because it doesn't matter where you are, if
It's
you're
not
really,
external.
it's not external. Yeah, thank you.
None of it's external. It's all internal. And that's where you have to start. That's the foundation. That's why the one is self-esteem. It has to start within. Self-worth and self-love, that has to be the foundation. Without that, it'll just continue to crumble. Anytime something outside of you puts you down or does something that pulls you off center, you will just completely crumble if you don't have that as your foundation. And that's like self-sabotage to me. That's what always, it's like I learn about self-sabotage a lot of like, without that foundation, it's just so easy to get pulled off center. So easy. Anything. It's just like you're like in the whims of others, of life, just like kind of being pulled. You have to find that like center of love. And that's what will root you to your core. It's that core stability, like truly, of
like you mentioned, calm is like part of me feel this way. I am not my head. I am not my thoughts. So I really remember when he said that, like when I'm feeling down, I was like, part of me is feeling down, part of me is feeling sad.
The second you do that, it's like you feel it. I really do. Like I love that little tool, that exercise. It's so powerful. And like even when you're talking to somebody else, when you're like potentially communicating with them your emotions, like they're trying to receive your emotions, but they don't want to feel what you feel too. So when you say a part of me feels this, they feel like it's just a part of you too. So it's not just about like you saying a part of me. It's like it's that courtesy. It's like a little courtesy tool to like help communicate, help bring the emotion to the surface and out loud and speak it out loud so it can be transmuted. But if it needs that help, I think that's I love it.
Amazing. I think in relationship that comes a lot because I mean, man, I mean, every relationship, it's a lesson, right? Like you said, but I feel like this relationship I'm with now, and it could be anything, could be a friend, a partner. It's like one, we have arguments and ups and downs because it happens, you know. Lately hasn't been happening as near as it used to because we're both really dissolve our egos and we're like, you know, surrender to the emotion and the feelings. But let's just say an example, one shit hit the fan and something happened, and it could be me or my girlfriend's. Usually I go like, I know that's not you and you cannot help it just to react this way. So I understand because I know her core and I know how she's feeling. That's not really how she is because otherwise I wouldn't be with you. I know who you are. So at the moment, I'm like, I know he didn't mean it. You know, I know we go through these things and I know that's not you. So it's okay. So let's give you some time so you can go back to your baseline. So it's nice to acknowledge that I've been actually noticing a lot that with me, let's just say I say something that's not as nice because I'm also Brazilian and I'm aggressive when I speak. I speak with my hand. I'm like, I'm crazy, but some people think I'm coming along too aggressive and intimidated, but it's not what I mean, really, right? And sometimes I'm like, wow, maybe I should have said something like it's not why you say, it's how you say it, right? It's always like in my mind. And I can go back, let's just say my girlfriend didn't even got her feelings hurt or anything, but an example would be like, she's like, where is the hairbrush here in the bathroom? Like, oh, it's under the sink. She's like, oh no, it's not. And I'm like, and I go there and I look and I'm like, it's right here. You didn't look enough. You should have just looked a little bit more, but here it is. And then after a while, I look back, I'm like, why would I even say that? Like, I could have just easily say, oh, it's here, sweetie. Why do I have to say, oh, you didn't look enough, you were not paying attention, slow down? Or, I mean, I don't have to put you down to give you the fucking hairbrush. It's nice, you know, just be nicer. Just like, oh, it's right here. Like, why am I wasting my energy to say something that is not going to make her feel good? And at the end of the day, I'm still going to give you the hairbrush. Like, I could have said my energy and your energy, and we both could have more energy. So it's just an example, you know, like sometimes you don't have to be a bitch, just relax, you know, like I'm speaking for myself. It's like, slow down. It's
then you
okay.
make her feel bad, but then you feel bad. So it's like you
Yeah, like
feel like shit then because you're like, fuck,
I
why
might try.
an asshole? And she's like, why is she being an asshole?
Yeah, I know. It's
Like, what
like
did I do?
try to learn how I don't always have to prove a point. It's okay to just respond and not try to prove a point, because like you said, we know everything, and sometimes we want us to try to prove a point to everything we say. Like you mentioned, you don't have to share your emotions all the time, but not sharing your emotions and feeling your emotions is different than not sharing your emotions and being in denial of what you're feeling, which is two different things. So knowing how to process your emotions internally rather than bottle it in without recognizing that emotion really has been helping a lot. Like we like to dissect our emotions now. Let's just say me and my girlfriend, like, this is how I really feel, and this is how you really made me feel. And when I'm coming at you and telling me how you feel and how you hurt my feelings, is nothing to put you down. I just want you to hear how I felt, has nothing to do with you, So sometimes a person feel attacked when you try to explain how you feel because they're thinking it's about them, even though they made you feel that way, but you're not trying to call them out. You just try to like, hear me out.
A part of me. Yep. Yep.
And I think Richard Rudd just puts it perfectly. It's like defense or dance. Poses that question. That's kind of what Peter like goes back to what you were saying. It's like we can either flow with these things, or we can get into our mind and like rationalize and defend and like try to understand them, or we can just like kind of allow ourselves to flow and just like not always be on the defense, not always needing to be thinking about other people's intentions, or like, just freaking just be.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, like about the car, and the like lady said, could you walk in this slower fucking bitch? She wasn't like, wait, was I walking too slow? Did I give her the reason? See, that didn't happen. And it's exactly what you're saying. There was no thought. It's like, ouch, that hurts. It hurts in my bone. It hurts my heart, but that's okay. Move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
The breath,
easy, guys.
the breath is the equalizer, no doubt.
The breath is the equalizer. Mic drop. That was it right there.
A breath hold will make you melt when you recover in 4 to 6 breaths, for sure.
Yeah. I was like, as you were talking about all this stuff, Michelle, all I was thinking about is like really yes, this is the work that's essential to do, to be, emotionally intelligent, but it's also like we have to take care of our bodies, and we have to like do the things that are healthy for us in this vehicle so that we can do this work. Because if you're not healthy in this vehicle, like it's like Katie was saying, it's just like not gonna, the foundations will break. It's not there. It's like, yeah, breath and movement and all this stuff that we're like, being in the body just allows you to really transcend and use your emotions and go through them. Like if you're not in your body for years, like you're not paying attention to your body, you're not, potentially moving or potentially eating well or whatever it is. Like,
and I think we do need safe spaces. We in the beginning we were talking about like it's not the environment. Like you can't blame everything on environment, but also this is nervous system work, truly. Like at its core, we have to feel safe enough to be in our body so that we can feel what's there. Like if you don't feel safe, if you're not in a safe enough environment, if you're not feeding yourself, nurturing yourself, caring for yourself, then it's going to be really fucking hard to feel your emotions. It's going to be really hard to process, and you're going to stay in your mind, and you're going to think and rationalize and do all of that because it's safer. And that's actually really beautiful, like that our bodies are designed this way to just always protect us and keep us safe. So yeah, it really does come down to like loving yourself enough to nurture yourself, nourish yourself, take care of yourself, put yourself in environments where you feel nurtured, where you feel safe. Hug yourself. Recognize that you're not broken, that there's parts of you that are hurting, there's parts of you that are loving, there's parts of you that are all of these different things, but like at your core, you are you are all of it. You're love.
Mhm.
You're profound, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like how we
Did
all
you?
just group hug there. We're all just like
Yeah, I know, it's so true. I think I've been living in my body and in my breath more than I ever been in my whole entire life until, I mean, I was like probably from 0 to 7. I think from 0 to 7, 7 to 14. That's when I was the most in my body, in the present moment, right? Because we're kids and there's no work responsibilities. But to think that it is possible to live and feel more than thinking when you're an adult requires a lot of work. And because we're all born with our true essence, right? But what basically buries and covers the essence is everything that shapes us, right? Our parents, what we hear, our friends, and it's all relationship, like 100% relationship with everything, and all the molding basically buries the core, true essence. And then when our true essence speaks very silently, which is it's our intuition or gut, we don't even know how to acknowledge our intuition anymore because it's been so long that we don't do things from the heart and from the gut. We're just following the society. You got to do this is right, this is wrong. So we've been digging really deep to find out who we really were in our true essence. So I was talking to my girlfriend about that. And yeah, lately, I mean, of course I use my head and my brain for when I need it, but I've been really flowing with unplanned, just like, I feel like this. Okay, let's do this. Or I feel like not doing anything, just being okay, cool. But yeah, I've been really with the breath and everything, right? The grounding and the breath and the diet and everything else. Yeah, I've been feeling my body and my breath like never, like I'd never have before. And it's
yeah.
pretty awesome.
Makes me think about like they talked about in this chapter how, and maybe it was the previous chapter too, or like the pathway, but like they're talking about how if parents knew about these lines, like it would make child development like a little more fluid and a little less like confrontational or less conflict. And I like it makes me think that in a way, children might even be more emotionally intelligent than most adults because they're so much in their body, because they're always moving, because they're able to process their emotions quickly. And they do it, by like crying or yelling or screaming or like whatever it is, because that's what you're supposed to do sometimes, to let it go. And it's like all this conditioning is telling us not to do all that stuff, but that conditioning is not right. Like when our parents tell us like don't cry or don't yell or don't scream or whatever, that's like just let your kid do that. Obviously there's a time and a place for it. Like don't like if your kid's yelling in the middle of the grocery store, take that kid outside and let him yell or whatever. But I just think it's just interesting because like we're talking about the connection between the body and the emotions and like how in order for your body to like go through these emotional cycles, it's really important for your body to be healthy, and your body's like the healthiest when you're a kid. You're able to like, you have so much energy as a kid. You're bouncing around, you're sweating like all the time. You're playing outside, you're running up and down the street with your friends, you're hiding and climbing trees and all that stuff, and like you're moving. And then you get like as you become older, although it's only because of social society things that like we're doing this, like we're stuck in schools for 8 hours a day, and we're like, I remember when I was in first grade, this was like age 6 or 7, when I was in first grade, they were like, sit on your sitter bones, because I would stand at my desk like for like half of the day. I would just be like just like writing, doing my work like standing because I was like, I don't want to sit down. And then like eventually I'd get tired and sit down, but like they're like, sit on your sitter bones. I was like, I don't want to do any of that shit. And I think about
Right.
it like, what if I was able to like just go outside and play all day for like 8 years straight? I would have been like I don't know, world class athlete or something. Who knows? But like,
Yeah.
I think I haven't told you. Sit on your sitter bones. No, I don't want to.
Oh,
Would you get reprimanded for standing, or they just would tell the whole class
No,
to?
they would just like just tell me to sit down. But I did get reprimanded for other things. I was telling Katie about this the other day because like I didn't as a kid I was like so innocent like in terms of understanding language and I just like I used to hate double negatives. Like I just didn't understand. I was like, what does this even mean? Like I don't know how to respond to this. So I was like, are you ever not going to do that again? And I was like, I don't know. Yes, no. Like, what do you want from me? So I got in trouble one time for like peeing outside during like recess or something, and like the teacher brought me and like this other kid that I was going to the bathroom with in the woods. Are you ever not going to do that again? And I was like, yes. The other kid was like, no. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's just like, why so many questions? Why so many rules? Why can't I just be?
Yeah, like, can I just pee in nature? Like, is that normal?
It comes to find out you can just drink your own pee and feel great.
If you're thirsty, yeah.
Yeah, in the sun. Oh my God, I know. It's so crazy because when people talk about like you're in therapy and people are like, oh my God, so gross. But, and before I even know about UT, and I actually experiment with, I'm not doing anything in the moment, but when I was really young, I was always so curious. Like when I was probably like, I don't know, 6, 7, I remember going to the shower and you always pee while you're in the shower, right? Pee in my hands, tasting it, smelling it. Yeah, like I've done all that. Like I am just not grossed out about anything.
Yeah, I
As
say
as it sounds, I'm
there's two
so
types of people in this world: people who pee in the shower and liars. Like honestly.
I was like, oh, this tastes bitter, whatever it was. But I didn't know. It's just like, it came from my body. It cannot be that bad. I mean, shit, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but
It's that innocence. It's like being curious and being innocent, being like yeah, wanting to know.
Mhm.
It's like innocence and I was telling we were talking about this the other day, but like ignorance isn't always a bad thing. Like not knowing. It's not a bad thing to not know about something. Like once you accept that you don't know it, accept that you had ignorance about it, then you can learn. And that's like
yeah,
in a way innocence as well, because you're in a state where you're always learning. You're always like accepting that you and in a way that also connects with self-esteem and self-sabotage and ego like because when you have a high ego you're self-sabotaging a little bit because you think you know everything, you think you're like you have all the answers, you don't need anybody to tell you anything, you don't need any help from anybody, but it's like this, it's not necessarily always true.
You have low
You have low
self-esteem.
self-esteem, you have
right.
high self-esteem, you're okay not knowing, you're okay like not having all the answers, you want to yeah be the student. Sometimes it's okay to be the student. I like being the student. I also like teaching. Like I like being both.
Yeah.
I love being
Yeah,
the
goes
student.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
I think, innocence and curiosity becomes creativity, at one point.
Mhm.
Like you're innocent and you're curious, and then boom, you just created something right there.
Yeah,
Naturally.
because you're curious, you're playing, and when you're playing you're more creative, and you're learning faster when you're playing.
Yep.
And we know about that, like the whole like if you do something 1,000 times with like to learn something you have to do it 1,000 times, but if you do it with play it's like 40 times or something like that. Like if you invite that sense of curiosity and play and ignorance, it like just happens in your brain way faster. Um, Learning
The
becomes.
gift of naturalness, right? Was it a Jinky 10 naturalness?
Mhm.
Right.
Yes.
I remember that one. It's a pretty nice one. That's crazy.
So I'm
Yeah.
just looking at I'm looking at the Gene Keys right now, the book, the Venus sequence, and it says that emotion itself has to be burned up before we can move into those states of inner silence and transcendence. Therefore, as we come closer to such states, our emotions become so sweet and exquisite that they make our hearts ache for the beyond. Such states of devotion and bhakti always precede the final flowering of our hearts. Ponder deeply on the city of your EQ, for it holds the key to your emotional transcendence. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious, what's everyone's city? What's the city of your EQ? Let's go. Let's just tell each other.
Crazy.
So my city is fluorescence.
Hmm.
Mm.
Mine's beauty.
Go Pewd. Mine EQ is timelessness.
Mm, the
Here's
5.
mine.
Yours is harmony, Peter.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
city, right? You meant?
yeah,
The city of harmony.
yeah.
Mm,
For me, like it's cool because I have this same sphere in my life's work, like my first sphere, and it's the one, and I have the 1-3 in both in my life's work and the EQ. So it's just like I listen to there's this guy Zach Bush. He's really like well known like microbiologist. He really knows a lot about the gut, and he was talking in a podcast, one of the ones I shared with Blue.
CO2, right? You shared that one?
Yeah,
I
I shared that
listened
on
to
my
that one.
story
Thank you.
yesterday. That was I actually want to listen to that today, the full one. But he was talking about in another one his experience going to Africa and how he was like in the mountains and he came like kind of face to face with this white lion and he just stopped and like that was the moment that he saw beauty in all of like life, in all of being, because he was seen by nature. He looked into the lion's eyes and was like, wow, like I am being seen by nature. I am nature. I am like recognizing this beauty in all things. And it's this beauty in like literally everything. It doesn't matter if it's ugly, it's still beautiful. It's beauty. It's transcended all forms of what is considered beauty. It's just it's that city. Everything in the universe is beauty. So when I contemplate how it's connected to my emotions and like that's like when I was reading what Katie wrote, I was like almost tearing up. I was like, wow, this is deep. This is
That's crazy.
you.
Wow.
This
Mhm.
Jesus.
like when your heart like actually aches, and if you've actually felt that before, which I know we probably all have at one point in our life, it like it really gives us like kind of a glimpse into that beauty. Uh,
Yeah.
I did listen to that podcast actually, Common,
Mm.
and I remember exactly that part that he was describing that.
yeah,
It was he was very humble. It was humbling to hear, and the way he said it was pretty deep. And I
yeah,
at that moment, well, one of me, Michelle's dreams is to go to Africa, right? South Africa
Mm.
or Africa. It's in our bucket list. But then
yeah. Me
thought
too.
of yeah, I thought of Brazil and how much of nature I've experienced, and many times that I was in nature, we're doing hikes or like I'm in the water, surfing waves. It's like you have to respect nature because she can come at you, and I mean you literally can just die, if you're not, again, the respect and the
Reverence.
yeah. It's like there are a lot of people there, like fishermen and stuff. They always say, like, just be gentle and nice with nature so you can get it back, because if you mess with nature, she'll mess with you, basically.
Mhm.
Kind of the idea. Yeah, but it's I think nature makes you just so vulnerable that you're like, wow, how many times in the water there's this big wave coming, and me and my cousin, we're like, look, and in the middle of it, you're like, I cannot swim and duck under, and there's no time for me to leave the water. So I'm just like in the middle, like, you know what? Almost like, fuck it, I'm gonna die, but let's just see what I can do. And it just take a big breath and get underwater and let the wave just get you. And I've been to, I like to live on the edge when I'm in nature, but I respect nature, but it's humbling. It's you're very vulnerable when you're in nature. That's why people don't like to go out or be in the dark or camp. I mean, us humans now became so comfortable with everything that any discomfort is like, oh my God, like, and that's why we're dying, because you cannot deal with discomfort and stress. I mean, we're talking about hermetic stress, right? It's like we expect everything to be pleasant and comfortable and perfect all the time. And if anything goes outside of what you're expecting, boom, you react because you don't have a buffer. Always comfortable. Like it's, yeah, it's crazy.
Do you guys also connect with like the sphere of your EQ, and like if so, how?
Mine is like impatient, patience, and timelessness.
Mm-hmm.
I do connect a lot with that actually. Um, it's like, it's funny because let's just say if I'm waiting for something and I reach my buffer of patience, and I'm like, the minute I become impatient and I start thinking, something happens. And I'm like, it happens that actually more with my girlfriend than anything, because she's actually very impatient and I'm very patient. Like, I'm actually, I don't think I experience impatience very, very rarely. Like, luckily, my dad is very patient. I got some of the genes of that too. And just, but it's like, let's say we're in a restaurant and then we order food and it takes 5 minutes. And then I'm just there chilling, enjoying. And then my girlfriend's like, man, did they get their order? It's taking forever. The minute she says that, the water comes. So every time when she really loses her patience, something happens. And then it never fails. Every time, every single time that she's like, wait, is it me or it feels like it's taking forever? I'm like, give yourself 30 seconds. I bet that's coming. And then boom, it comes. So it's always like your body's trying to teach you that when you're feeling a little uneasy, just relax into that feeling. Because being overwhelmed doesn't speed up anything external. Like it's just, you can't change anything when you're stressed, but you can and you could change things when you're actually not stressed. Like the energy you put out, is just like, it's crazy because talking about energy is something that's invisible for people, like the breath. They can get it because it's a feeling. Can't explain it. It's just insane. But I think the timelessness and I guess, is impatient as a shadow, patience as a gift, and timelessness as a city. I always been like thinking of feeling this, like time is an illusion. Why do I have to do something now? Why do people have to eat at noon because it's noon, it's lunchtime? Fuck that. Like, who says that? Like, why? I don't do things for the time. Like, and I'm like, the flowing, like, how come you go to in front of a waterfall and you're there sitting, watching their being for 10 hours, and the time actually just, there's no time. Time stands still. Like, you're like, holy crap, I've been here for this long. Like meditation, I feel that a lot. When my mind is like, oh, kind of racing, 30 minutes feel like 30 hours. But I can be sitting, relaxing, and I'm like now, like, holy shit, it's 11:30. We've been talking for 90 minutes. Does it feel like that?
Never does, for me at least.
So what do you think about timelessness? What do you guys feel? What does that mean to
I
you?
think I have that in my human design. Yeah, I love the five. I think a lot about like Katie told me that for me, I have something called like inner vision, um, which means like when I close my eyes, I can tap into a lot of things about myself.
Mm.
And I love to close my eyes during breath work, but or like she said to do it while I eat food. So I've been doing that more lately. But like when I do that, I actually slip into a little bit of timelessness for me. Uh,
Mhm. Oh my God. I'm sorry, go on. Is
yeah.
that
So like when I do my breath holds, I'm like timelessness. That's where I fucking thrive. Um,
Mhm.
and like yeah, I did a really good practice today, and I tapped into it for a moment on the first breath hold. I did 35 minutes of cadence, and then I went in right into a 2 minute breath hold, and I was sweating hard at the end of it. I like did it, and I just find so like time did not exist in those 2 minutes. Actually, it was like a minute and 47, and then I was like starting to like struggle a little. I got my first convulsion around then, and then I was
wow.
like, it was just like nothing. It was like time stopped for a moment, and I love that feeling. I and it really is where patience and impatience just no longer exist. It's not like I'm not waiting for anything. I'm not um
Rushing.
I'm not rushing, but in the other way, I'm not like happy that something's not happening or like I'm not patient about anything either. Like it's just like neither of those things exist, so I'm just slipping into
Just neutral,
and
like
nothingness.
flat.
But
You
it's
know
not,
what?
yeah,
Yeah, presence.
pure
Wow.
presence, yeah.
It's funny that you said that because it makes total sense. And I've been noticing more and more and more. You know, I always do my breathing with my eyes closed. And if you notice, I teach my classes with my own eyes closed,
Nice.
like when I
Oh,
teach,
wow.
because when I'm coaching people, you know, through Zoom, my eyes are completely closed as I coach because I feel so much more inwards, right, within. And I've been noticing now that you mentioned that throughout my day, when I'm eating, when I'm anywhere, I find myself closing my eyes so much more throughout my day,
Hmm.
all the time. Like when I can close my eyes and just take a nice breath, I feel like I'm not in this matrix, the world. I am completely in a different spot. And it's funny because even when we're playing Scrabble, we play Scrabble a lot, me and my girlfriend are playing, she's like, open your eyes. And I was like, oh, okay. I I'm catching myself now just kind of like, and I know you do that a lot, Katie, right? You just kind of like close your eyes and go like, oh, kind of thing.
Now.
Yeah, it's nice, but I loud that you mentioned that about eating close. I mean, when you're eating, you tasting your food, but I mean, close your eyes and chew slowly and see how you really can taste the food, like, and I think the timelessness is like when you close your eyes and you just be, nothing matters. Who cares what time it is, or you have to go somewhere, or yeah,
Time doesn't exist.
It's a construct. So,
yeah,
what
very,
about
very nice.
Katie and Peter? What do you guys feel about your spheres in your EQ? Anything you want to share? We got harmony and fluorescence.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
Yeah. Well, time stands still for me when I'm doing my art. It's always been that way, even when I was doing a lot of graffiti. Because you draw it on paper first, and you make it all pretty and everything, and then you trace it to get an outline. You take that outline with you, so you don't take your piece with you to the wall, but you just take an outline, and then you remember the colors and
Mm-hmm.
what. But yeah, always. Uh, and sports had a lot of that too. I do a lot of stuff on my own to get better on that skill, kind of like with the breath training, time stand still. Um, a lot of the movement exercises I do and try and get kind of lost in those. But I especially remember like learning to kick with my left foot in soccer. And it was like, how many times in a row can I kick it off the wall? You know, how it's supposed to feel, you know, when it feels like the other foot. You know, it's a game. That's just did that at whatever age. You know, you make up games. I'll say that. You make up games all the time. So that's when I would be like timeless on that. So there's the harmony. And I think it ties into the seeking too for the equilibrium. I'm sensitive to that when I feel off. So preservation ties back to the preservation in my life's work, I think, is preservation.
Purpose?
Or radiance is preservation, I think, for me, or something.
Yeah, it's your purpose.
Yeah, purpose, yeah.
And your vocation, actually.
32.
Yeah. Cool.
You guys follow or ever watch some of the stuff that Tommy John, Dr. Cassie Huckabee put out?
Yeah, he did something about like stances the other day, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he talked about there was one post that he put out about injuries that I thought was fascinating. And I think we've
Yeah.
talked about that maybe a little bit too. Like how there's always a precursor to an injury. It's never like there's always signs. It's just like an injury doesn't just happen. There's always something like that you didn't do beforehand or that you didn't notice about it before. But anyway, yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, no worries. I was curious because a little while ago, say about a month ago now, they were in Europe traveling and they were with his aunt, Tommy's aunt, who was super rad. You know, she wasn't even, they're saying she's like 70 something, but super, you know, super spunky. And she knew how to speak German, I think. And so they were bopping around and, you know, and this ties into like what we're talking about today overall. And a lot of Tommy John stuff and Cassie Huckabee is all you can heal yourself. Whereas Katie earlier talking about the pathways, like when we were talking about the spirals of down or spiraling up, and you know, strategies our body and our mind tries to make up. And you know, these two have always talked about that. And like Tommy John like ripped up all his diplomas for chiropractic and the schooling, and it just, you know, people don't understand like where they're coming from, and so they get a lot of pushback. But at the same time, it's like listening to them now, you know, a month out of, because they were messed up from a car accident that happened in Europe. The aunt died in the wreck. And they were in the country, and they were separated. They both went to different hospitals, Tommy and Cassie, and they're okay. They were banged up. He did a video like back then a few weeks ago of, you know, when he was like bruised up and everything, and they made their way back within about a week to the United States. And his posts are slightly different now, but only because it's deeper in conviction, and it's probably a lot to do with the stuff that we're talking about and experiencing through our reading, and of course the breath for sure, using it as a stress response or cadence, or, you know, melting the heart, feeling that hurt. That's like a pulse into the universe when we feel that, right? It's got to be, you know, you feel you feel timeless, and I believe that pulsates out into the universe. And then, like Michelle was saying, that extra 30 seconds, wait, and then we're keeping all this stuff and processing it inside, and then we share it how we need to share it and when we need to share it or want to share it. So I bring that up because he's always talked about you heal you, and same with her, and they're kind of a 1-2 punch. You know, if someone comes to see him to figure out, you know, what's your goal, how are you going to do this, you got to allow your body to say yes, you can heal, versus what he was saying yesterday was, people go to the practitioner of some kind, and they're told right off the bat something like, well, you're lucky that you would have been better off if you had broke the bone, because bone, heals back really strong versus all this connective tissue stuff that happened to you that you're trying to heal. So you would have been, it's like a negative right off the bat, right? So that sets the precedent. And then of course the person dives into whatever that practitioner is, whether it's Rolfing or go to whatever, whatever, he didn't say that, but like whatever the thing is that you're going to go forward, supplements, you're going to go on this supplement program. So that's going to help you heal. But it's really opening those pathways of the parasympathetic and like listening to it and going through the emotions of it. And I'm connecting more to what they're saying based off how their message is even more fine-tuned now. And then knowing all the stuff that I'm trying to work out in my body, and then these gene keys, and now the Venus. And then like I found out that it's like a generator, whereas you're a reflector, and then Michelle, you were a projector.
Yeah, Kate's a manifesting generator. So we got a bunch of each.
Yeah, and I burn hot.
The manifester.
And the generator.
No, Peter's the generator.
Oh yeah.
I'm a generator. You're a manifester, Katie?
No, I'm a manifesting generator. So we
Okay.
we have 4 of the 5 types.
Right now, right here, right? That's
Wow.
cool.
A person can have 2 aspects or more versus like I just have generator.
Yeah, so manifesting generator means one of the motors is connected to the throat. So if you're a generator, you don't have that. Manifesting generator has one of the centers connected to the throat. One of them, they're not all motors, but one of the motor centers has to be connected to the throat. So we still operate the same. We still are sacral responding to life, not initiating.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's all.
My girlfriend is a manifesting generator.
Move a little bit quicker.
Okay. Yeah. So when I think of generator, when I saw that, I was like, oh, gears, like, oh, gear ratios, crank lengths, like power output. And I burn hot, which back to the preservation thing, And so I just throwing it out there, see if you guys had watched them. If you haven't, check out last few posts that they've done.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Just came to my mind because it's like, wow, they am really believing in like the curiosity of everything maybe that my intellect kept me from, only because I haven't had the tools to like put words with them, and so I just it's really cool. The other person that's really cool that I've seen before, now it makes more sense, is the actor Terrence Howard.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
The math stuff with all the equations.
1 + 1 = 3. Yeah.
There's a few videos out there. There's some longer ones that I'm gonna find again, but yeah. What's that?
So that's literally that's like the foundation of the Venus sequence, that 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, you plus another person equals like both of you.
I did. Yeah.
It's that relationship. It's the relationship is the third.
Yeah.
And
I saw that. That's really cool. 1 + 1. Did you post that, Como? I saw someone.
I probably did. I know
1 + 1 it's 3 because it's U2 is the third.
Yeah. That's also, I think that's the isn't that the line 2? Or not the line 2, the like the key to the second key, unity? Isn't that?
I mean, I've been saying 1 + 1 = 3 for like.
But I think they talk about it.
She's like, I've been saying that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
She knows it.
All this is just, everything's like coming to this energetic, pulse of just letting it sit in here versus having to like think about it and intellectualize. Just like curious, and then the harmony, and then I'm a seeker, and I mean, and all of it.
Yeah.
It's just the awareness is enough for me. Like I'm really satisfied with that. That brings the equilibrium and the harmony, and time stops, and it's
Yeah, beautiful.
yeah, it's like
Beauty.
whatever happens,
Yeah, here I am.
happens.
Like, oh yeah, that's beautiful.
And then
Yeah, what about you, Katie?
Yeah, Katie, what's up?
thanks, so I haven't read the 15 City in a while, but if I'm remembering correctly, its fluorescence is like, it means flowering. It's actually the 15th city is called the final flowering, and fluorescence has to do with like during certain times of the seasons when the flowers bloom, they don't just like bloom one at a time, they all like bloom at the same time, like all of the flowers open at once, and that's referred to as fluorescence, I think. It's something with Shambhala too. Do you know, like, there's like a music festival called
Shambhala.
It has to do with this, all of this. It's like when you go to that festival, it's like the intention behind it is that everyone is flowering and awakening together. So it's interesting that that's the city, because it's kind of like, that's literally what we're doing in this container right now. And I'm watching this happen in the world. Like he talks about, like, usually people, when there's an awakening happening, it's not just a select one or two people. And maybe that used to be how it be. There might have been certain like time periods where it was like, it was rare for someone to awaken, but now we're actually moving into a time where like we're all flowering together. We're all awakening together. But yeah, the shadow of the 15 is dullness, and the gift is magnetism. And I can like reflect on my emotional states and see that like when I'm not growing, or when I feel really like in this state of dullness, I can see how that sort of moves me into apathy. Everything just feels meaningless. Usually, actually, the 15 and the 5 are called harmonic keys, meaning that they form, in human design, they form a channel. It's called the channel of rhythm. So it's like for the 15, that whole key in the gene keys talks about the Schumann resonance, how we move too quickly and we need to learn how to slow down. And like when I am moving really fast, when I'm like in my mind, and thoughts move so fast, like that's when I can move into the shadow of dullness and start to feel like nothing's changing, nothing's happening quick enough. Like I'm always going to be stuck doing this like mundane shit that I don't want to be doing. And then he really talks about though how like life is mundane and that there's beauty in everything. And like Tantra is the path of being in relationship to everything and recognizing that God is everything and exists in even doing the dishes and mowing the lawn and doing all these mundane tasks, that you can actually find God in it all. And so that's where you kind of move into this gift of magnetism, where you start to open your heart, and like, you can feel that when someone's really like open-hearted and just connected to the divine on all levels, on like the most simplest level, and really just like slowing down and moving in harmony with nature. And like, so yeah, I can see how my emotions definitely like mirror these different states, and how the line 3, how I move into like feeling nothing to then I feel so much, and then I'm like, wow, I'm like really having a lot of compassion for just life. Yeah.
I think I wanted it. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I just wanted to add one thing, because I remember like you're talking about flowers and flowering, and I think I wasn't sure if it was a podcast or like maybe just like a video or something, but I remember Richard Rudd talking about flowers in how they relate to the city, and how like the city is really like a transcendental energy frequency. So it's like it's not, you have to transform completely. And like grass, he was talking about the evolution of the flower. Like before, certain beings were on the terrain on this planet, it was mostly just grass and like ferns and trees. And then something happened one day and it was just like flowers just like budded. But it took that grass like a long time to like go above and beyond itself to literally form something so new and so beautiful and so above what a blade of grass is, or like a whatever, I don't know, a plant, like to flower, like to actually bud and flower out and show petals and like show itself. It had to transform in the same way that a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. It like went inside itself and transformed its molecular structure, its DNA. It evolved. It's through that. It's like the city is the evolution. It really is, and that's like why we only get like flashes of it every now and then. And that's why when we feel so chemically abundant when we flash into the city. And that's how it's like, that's where we're like going. We're going into more states of gifting and more states of cities.
Nice.
It's all through that internal emotional chemical reaction. Because every single one of these is chemicals based on amino acids, based on DNA, based on genetics.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's very deep. I was kind of reading a little bit of the magnetism hitting the Schumann resonance, which is yours, Katie, and the emergence of Shambhala. Shambhala, is that how you say Shambhala or Shambhala?
Shambhala. I
Shambhala.
think it's either way. Yeah, it's in British Columbia.
Yeah. You
Wow.
can see how the programming partner is the 10. So when you're natural, when you're allowing yourself to just be, and like when you can slow down enough to just be, you become magnetic.
So true. I was gonna ask you guys, do you guys have any spheres that match in numbers as a partner? And does that mean anything at all? Like, let's just say,
I know Katie and I have.
Well, your whole activation sequence is the programming partners. So whatever your life's work is, the evolution is its programming partner. And then your radiance is whatever your
No, I think
radiance
she's
is.
saying you as like not programming partners, but were you saying?
yeah, partners, like a relationship.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
just say,
yeah.
Partners.
Like yeah.
yeah.
She was saying like, do we mean you have like certain keys that are the same? And I think in human design we do. I think we both have the 38, which is like the
I
light
see.
warrior. But I'd have to look and double check. I feel like, do you know if
It's
we have it?
funny because I know my attraction sphere is 33.3 and my girlfriend's radiance is 33.3. So I was wondering if that, I mean, of course, I mean, it's just like, I mean, having those two spheres in the same hologenetic profile, is this something that we should just really go deep in this to this 33.3? And it's 333. It's
Yeah,
it's a good
I think like read it and see what comes up and chat
yeah.
about it and like let it flow naturally. Don't have
Cool.
any opinions about it or
Bless
anything.
you.
But
Bless you. And it's a good one. It's
yeah.
forgetting, mindfulness, and revelation.
Yeah, that'd be a good key.
I think it's actually that's what's happening to us now that I'm thinking about it. We're looking back to who you really were, and we are. Yeah, I kind of just answered my question because really, actually, looking back to see who we were in our core, and that's the forgetting, right? You forget who you were, and the shadow of forgetting. It's like you're not really being expressing yourself at your full potential. But yeah, forgetting the things that you were, we're back and slowly getting more mindful, and the revelations are really coming. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna wrap it up in a minute, just because
Yeah,
we've
I
been
know.
on it for like almost 2 hours, but it's been great
Please.
today. But I just want to
Wow.
mention, so like the next 2 weeks, we're going into the holidays and stuff. I figure we can probably do the SQ, like go into the pathway of love and the SQ, starting the new year. So that the first is Monday, 1st of January is Monday. So the next 2 weeks, we won't have a call. I think we'll just like give it some time,
Yeah.
give it a little break, and then reconvene and chat about the SQ. And I think that'll be a really fun one to go through.
SQ.
And
Mm.
then, rest of January, we'll probably finish up the Venus sequence, and then maybe take a little break after that. And then I'd like to just finish it. I'd like to go through the Pearl sequence as well. I think that's going to be like a really cool one to do together. That's like I read a little bit of the Pearl before I even read this Venus, so I just skipped ahead a little, and I got like a taste of it, but I wanted to do it kind of like in the full sequence. So I'm excited to get back into that part. But yeah,
Sounds
Nice.
great. Is
Okay.
the SQ like your spiritual intelligence? Ooh,
yeah.
very nice.
Quotient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Oh,
So
I'm the lucky number 13, 13.3.
13. That's cool.
no, you have the 12.5.
Wait. Oh no, this is my girlfriend. She's a 13.3. That's right. My bad. Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Spiritual. Yeah, that's gonna be
Right
deep.
below it.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I know, right?
But yeah, that one's in the whole center of the whole sequence, so it'll be a fun one to go through as well. So yeah, I appreciate you guys chatting for 2 hours. That went by fast. That was awesome.
No doubt.
That
Yeah.
was a
Thank you.
blast. Yeah, thank you guys for sharing. And
Ooh,
yeah,
okay. I see that.
we'll chat
Okay.
again in the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a great day, guys. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for everything today. The squad is here
Yeah.
as always.
Mwah.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.